All right, everybody, we are back with more week 3 previews. This time we are in TRD. And unfortunately, the commish won't be with us this today because he is traveling for his mother's funeral. Our thoughts and prayers are being sent out to him. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Very first up, we are going to go ahead and look at it. This time we have Chris and No More. He's 0-2. He scored 411.63 points. And going up against likely losers who's almost scored 200 more points than him. And looking at, his team, he has Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry, Lazard, Juju, Peoples-Jones, Zeke, George Pickens, Rashad Penny. Honestly, without Nick Chubb on his team, his team looks pretty bad. Nick Chubb and Jared Everett are probably only his two offensive players who are actually scoring points for him. He's going up against likely losers who is running Mahomes, who's running James Robinson, who is looking like RB1 over there in Jacksonville. And with that said, I think he also has Miles Sanders, Deebo Samuel, Rashad Bateman, Doolin, Mark Andrews, Logan Thomas. And looking at this, I originally had, let me just take a quick look. I originally had likely losers winning this one. I am sticking with that as well. And I am just trying to pull up real quickly because I am a little unprepared as usual, who the commish had picked. Just let me give me 1 second. And the commish also had Kamish had No More winning this one. I think if he was here, he would change that pick, but unfortunately, he is not here, and he gets stuck with likely losers, losing this one, and where I think likely losers is going to win. Next up, we have Steeman Beeman, who's 1-1, going. He has 525 points for, 525.66 points against, really close to being about 500 and points for versus points against. Going up against the Swahini, who's 0-2, 485. And he's let up a lot of points up against that. Real quick, looking at this one, Kamish has Steeman Beeman to win. Let's just take a quick look. I also have Steeman Beeman to win this one as well. And looking at the two teams, Steeman Beeman has Josh Allen. What more can you really say? He did trade for Herbert, who week 1 did pretty good. Week 2, only 38 yards, only got him 5 points. Rex Burkhead, he did pick up Rex Burkhead. Again, he had a good week 1, horrible week 2. Keenan Allen, the real question is, will Keenan Allen play this week? He says, him being Keenan Allen, will play, but we'll see. AJ Green, Tyler Lockett, Travis Kelce, Cam Akers, Trey Burks. Honestly, like if Steeman Beeman could get Cam Akers to actually do anything this week, and actually, I think he scored 2 touchdowns last week, or had close to 2 touchdowns, something along 2 receptions, not 2 touchdowns. He could probably put up decent amount of points. However, going up against Swahini, I don't really think he needs it. Swahini has Davis Mills, Dalvin Cook, Damian Pierce, who, he actually had 69, 68 yards last week. Looked pretty good. He has Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Braxton Barrows, Hawkinson's, Brevin Jordan, some fourth wide receiver for the Rams named Scrogricken. And he does have CEH, who CEH kind of looking decent this year. He's been averaging about 20 points. And it's funny because he was actually called out a few days ago by previous Chiefs and saying, they're the reason that the Chiefs aren't looking too good. However, I don't really see that to be the case. Swahini does have Jacoby Brissett playing against the Steelers versus Tom Brady, who's playing against Green Bay. I'm going to call that a wash. I think Steven Beeman wins this game. Probably wins it pretty easily, to be honest with you. And he's going to go 2-1. Next up, we have the Architect, who's 2-0, has 671 points for. I think he actually has the lowest points against at 400. Going against Mac and Cheese, who's 0-2. He has 437.11 and 591.47. And while we're on that, talking about the leagues, TRD going from last week to this week, has scored on about, I'm actually just looking at it real quick. On average, the teams have scored about 13 points less. They are about 12 points less than the median for last week. And total scores, there was about 200. Let's call it about 200. It's a little less than 200 points scored between week 1 and week 2. And while we're on this one, looking at the architect, let's see who the commission said he was going to pick on this one. He said he has the architect winning, and let me just take a quick look and see who I have. I actually picked the architect to lose this one. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at the matchup, see if that is my actual pick still. Just let me click on this little button right here. The architect, Lamar Jackson playing against New England, Saquon Barkley, who's having a pretty good year so far. I think he's over about 230, 240 total rushing yards in 2 games. Damian Harris, Christian Kirk, who is looking like a stud and a half. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Curtis Samuel, who I don't know why he's so good, but he is looking really good with Carson Wentz over there. Brandon Cooks, who's just a target machine. He's going to get all those targets. I think he has like 25, 26, maybe targets, maybe a little less than that. Conklin, Cortland Sutton. Yes, Cortland Sutton is looking pretty good, as long as Jerry Jeudy doesn't play. He does have Devontae Adams, as we all know. He did have a touch, I think 2 catches, 2 catches last week. Didn't do much. Gabriel Davis, who was injured last week, says he might play this week. And then he has Joe Flacco, who was looking pretty good. He got 40-some points last week, 26 points the week before that. Going up against Stafford, Joe Mixon, Breece Hall, T. Higgins, Galladay, Thielen, Schultz, Kendrick Bourne, Melvin Gordon, Christian Kirk playing Detroit. And honestly, this one, in my opinion, comes down to how well does Christian Kirk play? Does he actually bounce back? Can Breece Hall keep up the progress that he made? He had 50-some yards last week, 1 receiving touchdown, I believe. I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go with the architect winning this one. And I think it's going to be pretty close, a lot closer than what those points for are showing. It's going to be a fun one to watch, but I'm going to switch my pick to the architect. Next up, we have Philly Miracleman, who's 1-1, going up against future rookie of the year, 0-2. I have 426 points for, 547 against. Future rookie of the year has 516, 56, and points against a 587.09. Looking at the 2 teams, honestly, I think they're pretty close. Daniel Jones, and he's looking like Daniel Jones. Let's be honest with you. Mostert, Gainwell, Watkins, Duvernay, Ayuk, Goddard, Jerry Jeudy, as we just talked about, if he does play. I think he didn't practice yesterday. He won't practice today being Thursday. Marquise Brown, Hines, Geno Smith versus Kyler Murray, Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon, Pittman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, et cetera, et cetera. Really, in my opinion, this comes down to 3 players. How well does Alvin Kamara play? Does he actually even play? He was limited yesterday. Then you have Daniel Jones playing Dallas. Dallas defense looks pretty good. Geno Smith against Atlanta. Atlanta they're letting up points. They're letting things happen over there against their offense, or their defense, I should say. Can Geno Smith actually do anything? And the question is probably not. And that's really what's going to come down to. And I originally had myself winning this one. The commish had future rookie of the year winning this one. Even with Jimmy G, the fiasco with picking up Jimmy G, I'm still going to go with Asad. I'm going to actually change my pick. I'm going to go with Asad Duel for the win here. I'm going to follow the commish here and go with that. Next up, we have Covington Pythons, who's 1-1 at 550, versus Wolverines, who's 1-1 at 463. And let's be honest, none of us thought that Dirkman's was actually going to be doing it, put up any points. We all thought he was going to suck. And Wolverines, it's not normal for Chris to be to be this bad in points for. Looking at the two teams, Mac Jones, Stevenson, Fournette, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Landry, Zach Ertz, Hillard, Gallup, Aguilar, Carson Wentz. Let's all be honest. The reason that Covington is actually doing pretty good is because of Carson Wentz. He put up 40 some points both weeks, going up against Derek Carr, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, McLaren, Devonta Smith, Renfro, Kyle Pitts, Kenyon Drake, James Cook, who in the first two weeks it averages point. If you put his points together, he has 5, but he has negative 2.9 week 1. KJ Osborne in golf. Honestly, this is a tough one. I originally had, I believe, Wolverines winning this one. I also had Wolverines going 4-0. And he's 1-1. Kamish has Wolverines winning this one as well. It's a toss-up. I'm gonna stick with Wolverines, and that is how it's gonna go. Next up, you have Brighton Panthers 101, 529, 31, and 461, 22 against the Beta 1-1, 474 and 554.55. And the Beta did lose the brothers matchup. And looking at it, who the commission who picked real quick. I believe Kamish did pick Milan and Brighton Panthers to this one. And I originally picked, let me just verify real quick as well, the Brighton Panthers to win this one as well. And looking at the matchups real quick, we do have, where are you at on my list here? Brighton Panthers, Herbert, Antonio Gibson, who was all right last week. He had 14 carries, only 28 yards. Did have that touchdown, that saving grace touchdown. Cordell Patterson, who I'm still not sold on, can actually run a full backfield. DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Gage Higbee, Josh Jacobs, Jeff Wilson, who had 84 yards last week, which is pretty good. Going up against the Beta, who has Matt Ryan, who gave negative 10 points last week, or negative 7 in this league. Deontay Swift, Montgomery, Olave, Elijah Moore, AJ Brown, Freiermuth, DJ Shark. I'm pretty sure that's Ricky James, Ingram, and Engren. And honestly, to me, it comes down to a couple players on this one. Aaron Rodgers, can Aaron Rodgers start looking like Aaron Rodgers again? He did have, I think, 2 touchdown passes last week, which is definitely going in the right direction because I'm pretty sure he got like 5 points. He actually got 2 points, 2.3 points left 2 weeks ago in week 1. And I think quarterbacks win you games. I think Brighton Panthers has the better quarterbacks, and he is going to win this one for sure. Next up, we have Bare Naked Ladies 542 and 612 going up against Bills Mafia, who's 579 and 528. And honestly, this is going to be a close matchup. Looking at it, even looking at the projections on Sleeper, which don't really mean anything, it's only a 14-point difference. The real question is, can Tua throw 6 touchdown passes against for Bills Mafia against Bills Mafia? Going up against Justin Fields, who's playing Houston. You would think, Fields might get some points here. He only threw 11 touchdown passes last week. Like, seriously, why only throwing 11 touchdown passes last week? And I'm pretty sure you lost. That just doesn't make sense. Sounds like bad coaching, in my opinion, there. Jonathan Taylor, who looked horrible last week. Actually, he averaged 6 yards a carry. He just wasn't used because Matt Ryan sucked. Eckler, I don't even know who this person is. Is this DeAndre Carter? DeAndre Carter, who actually did pretty well. DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Janu Smith, Zach Moss, Allen Robinson, Tooney, and Jalen Hurts are going up to Trubisky, Williams, McKendrick, Knox, Waddle, DeAndre Johnson, Lamb, NTN, Connor, and Tua. Let's be honest, I like Hurts and I like Tua because Hurts is a fantasy football quarterback. He looked pretty good last week, but let's see if he actually can play consistent. I don't like Fields and I don't like Trubisky. I like Fields better than Trubisky. I like Jonathan Taylor better than Connor and NTN, especially to have a bounce back game. Eckler again that way. That is why I am going to go with Bare Naked Ladies to win this one. I originally had him picked to win this one as well. The commission had Bare Naked Ladies to win as well. Moving on. Next up is the game of the week. We have Stupid Is As Stupid Does, who's 2-0. Who can imagine a commish going 2-0? He's at 590 and 388. He actually has the least points for. Going up against Caesar Sunday, who has 674 and 533. Caesar Sunday has the most points for in the league. And looking at the matchup real quick, according to Sleeper, this matchup is not going to be close at all. Commish has one quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who got him negative points last week. He has Kareem Hunt, who is being Kareem Hunt like, getting those extra carries. I mean, he plays on the Browns there. He is going to run the ball. He's going to catch some passes, etc. And Justin Jefferson, who didn't look that great last week. Let's be honest. He had 6 catches, 48 yards. Darius Slay was all over him. Christian Kirk did not look that good. I was at that game, and Christian Kirk looked like crap. Tyreek Hill, who, in my opinion, he got 190 yards, two touchdowns, but most of that came in, when, in my opinion, the Ravens lost that game, and the Dolphins did not win that game, and that's why he actually put up decent amount of points. He does have Pollard, who, again, before the season, commission and I both agreed that Pollard is a good player. He probably has the same RB1 as Zeke, if not even better than Zeke. Jahan Dotson, who's looking pretty good. He has 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks of his 2-week career. Going up against Russell Wilson, who's looking pretty damn bad. Aaron Jones, who's looking pretty good, I would say. Singletary, who's looking like he does not want to give up that spot. Cup, Stephon Diggs, who had 3 touchdown passes last week. I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be better, closer than what Sleeper has, but I am sticking with my pick of Caesar Sunday, and the commish also has Caesar Sundays winning this one as well.